Testing. Setting up the live stream right now. Less monitors than normal. I'm in the process of moving. Some of you probably know that. So setup is a bit of a disaster here. So apologies for any technical difficulties. We're going to make it work. Appreciate everyone for coming. Microphone should sound better too. Let me know if anyone notices any difference in the mic. And if you are getting here early, make sure to smash that like button. Super helpful, helping more people see the stream, especially if you're early. We'll jump right into it in a moment. Almost done setting everything up on the back end. Appreciate everyone for coming. Let me know also if you notice a difference in the microphone. Microphone should be a lot better. Abs, good to see you. RPM, Scott, Zach, Beep, Roger, Flavor.com. Good morning, crypto is here. Love that. Got to get on the show next week. Excited to show off the new setup. It's going to be dope. What up? Setting everything up here. First time on a live stream. Welcome, Scott. Welcome. Glad to have you, brother. There might be a change in the live streams moving forward. We'll talk about that in a minute. Nothing bad, but might do a change up on the time for the live streams. The goal was always to do like a morning market open show. So like everyone kind of gets their morning news and is ready for the day with the live stream, and then the end of the day video is like the recap. So I think what's gonna happen is I'm gonna move it to a morning live stream. For those of you guys who are OGs, you know, like the whole reason why the live stream happens at 12 is because I used to have like a full-time job, and it was just like I would go out in my lunch breaks and stream from my car, and I kept the time the same. But I think I want to do it. I think I want to do the morning live stream, and that way, right off and early in the morning. No, this is the didn't do anything with my hair today and woke up and got behind the camera. That's funny though. No, you're good. Yeah, we're in the process of moving, so like half my stuff is over in the new place, half my stuff is here. It's been quite the process, but everything's going well. It's going to be nice when it's over, and I will have a sick new studio too. That's one of the things I'm working on. Brand new studio. So that should be pretty cool to see, and hopefully it adds like a new touch to a lot of these lives. That's kind of what I'm looking to do, and new recording studio as well. Question: are you expecting anything from Central Bank of Russia? That's a good question. I've been thinking a lot about the Central Bank of Russia thing. It's complicated. It seems to me like there's a lot of documentation around Russia looking at XRP before in the past, but at the same time, the thumbnail is amazing. I don't know what the thumbnail is. What is the thumbnail? I haven't even uploaded the thumbnail. Isn't it just like space? 626, good to see you. I don't know what the thumbnail is, so if it is good, I'll just keep it. I was in the process of changing the thumbnail. I was in the process of changing the thumbnail. Now everyone's saying, "Oh, that's crazy." Oh God. Yeah, that has to change. Oh, that's wild. Yeah, well, we get to get rid of that. I look like a psychopath. Oh, that's funny. I was like, what even is the thumbnail? All right. Yeah, that is creepy. Very creepy. Yeah, get that cleaned up. That's so funny. I was like, what could this thumbnail be? That's so interesting. That was not what we wanted to be. All right. We're set up now. Thumbnail of me looking like I'm about to murder someone live on stream is gone. So that's good. Flavor.com. Thank you for the gifted membership, brother. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Taylor said, crazy how undervalued crypto right now is. The last time the stock market was at these levels back in March, Bitcoin was 74K, Coinbase was over 280. Rotation has come. Rotation has to come at some point. Oh, I agree. I completely agree. Oh, Defin. Defin couldn't make it, but Defin, I appreciate you commenting when you watch this back. I just saw your comment. Let me take a look real quick. Looks like you got stuff coming in. Um, Fly Girl, good to see you. Good morning, good morning. Flare up 12%. Oh, nice, nice, nice. I wanted to. Oh, that was excellent, Roger. That was so good. I'm actually working on Roger. I'm actually working on a bunch of shorts breaking that down, but oh man, I would almost, I would almost, I could do this. See you question, but I'm talking for all right. Oh yeah, that interview was incredible. I'm gonna share it on the channel as well. I'm working on a bunch of short clips for it so people can watch it. Uh, let's see. Well, what was the question, Taco Bro? Oh, if ETH gets RLUSD, does that mean all ERC20 tokens will have access? XDC. No, it's only going to be native on the Ethereum chain. So I don't think it will be native to the XDC chain as well. All our ERC20 tokens are on the Ethereum chain, but XDC isn't on the Ethereum chain. It has its own chain. At one point it was on the Ethereum chain, but then it like migrated. I think it's similar. Got it, got it, got it. Lots of chatter on X about a green October. Yeah, I don't put much. I don't put. I hate I hate the whole month thing. Like, oh, this is historically a bullish month or a bearish month because like it's just random. It's just random. The reason why like some months are green and some months are red is just because there's not a lot of trading data. So let me show you what I mean. This is pretty important to understand. I'm sure you guys have heard it. People will say, "Oh, this is historically like a really good month," or "This is historically a really bad month." Let me show you why I kind of have a problem with that way of thinking. All right, so here's a chart of XRP, right? And we'll just use a chart of XRP for this because it doesn't really matter what you use. But the reason why I don't like looking at specific months for like, oh, this is historically a good month and this is historically a bad month is because like if you look at the data, like it's going to be so manipulated because XRP has had like such a short lifespan. So like any months that fall into this region right here are obviously going to be extremely bullish in comparison to the rest of XRP's history in which it kind of traded sideways. So whenever you have a big spike, it kind of manipulates that specific time period. And I think we can all agree that the month doesn't really determine when XRP will rip. It's a lot of other factors. So a lot of people will look at like say like, oh, historically for XRP, April is a very, very good month. But like it's really been Aprils are just random throughout XRP's price history. But because you have this one massive pump on XRP, it ruins it. Guys, a lot of people are saying right now to me that they're not getting notified when I go live. Make sure you do have bell notifications on. You might have to check your settings there. I don't know what's going on. I'm probably just getting like censored to a certain degree. They're probably just preventing people from getting notified to try to stop people from getting into the live stream. But if you are here right now and you do want to make sure you do show up on time, the best thing I can tell you is make sure to go over to YouTube, subscribe, and turn on bell notifications. Flavor, how good was Jake last night? Guys, make sure you watch Jake Claver's Monday and Wednesday nights at 10 Eastern. Yeah, Jake has been killing it, and he goes on for a while. Huge shout out to Jake, man. That's why it'd be perfect if Jake does the night live streams and I get on the early morning live streams, and we have most of the day covered for you guys in terms of a morning news drop, and then kind of an end of the day. Sometimes apps just need to be updated or phone needs to be restarted. Okay, good to know. I know a lot of people too. I think only like 65% of the people who watch the videos are subscribed. So, and I know a lot of people just like don't even think to hit subscribe. So, that's the only reason I like to shout it out. Also, guys, if you're watching right now, drop the like on the stream, exit out of the chat, and drop that like. XRP kind of just trading sideways right now. Really not anything overly noteworthy at the moment. It does look like we are recovering a bit based off of that kind of spike down we had yesterday. It does look like we're putting in a potential bottom, which is good news. And then if we draw a line across here, we can see that we do have some kind of support coming in here. Hard to really tell. What we'd really like to see is XRP over the next couple of weeks kind of move back up into this range. Still have a while before that October 7th date. So October 7th is here. This is kind of where we need to get to. But we're working our way there. I think the Ripple SEC, the Ripple ruling for the case was here. So kind of cool. We're almost like visually, it seems like we're about a little more than a third of the way there. So realistically, I don't think the SEC will do this on the last day. I don't think they'll file an appeal on the last day. So we're probably in now we're probably in the do or die time, right? This is probably the zone here, I would imagine. I think this is kind of the zone we're entering into right now. From end of August to September. The month of September is going to be big. I think that's probably when we find out if we do get the appeal. Maybe the SEC is petty, does it on the last day. I don't see it. I think they probably already knew going into it what they were going to do. Oh yeah. No, if you remember, I do member only live streams. So when the chat gets crazy, when we have really exciting stuff going on, I switch it over to members only so members can get all the questions in. But subscribing is completely free. Subscribing, you just make sure that when I go live or do anything, you guys get it shows up in your special feed. So absolutely no charge to subscribe, and then to be a member is only $5 a month, and it's really just a way to help support the channel. So so I can do this kind of stuff every single day. Jungle Link, good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Jungle, I appreciated you sharing that clip of me last night. And funny, Jungle, a funny story is I went back and watched it, and I was like, oh, what the heck? Like, my audio is terrible, like terrible. And then I realized that on my StreamYard settings, I was pulling the mic input rather than the mic output. So I was like, had all these filters running on it to make it sound better. And then realized that I was actually pulling the audio input only for StreamYard. All my other videos are fine prior to it being processed. So appreciated the shout out there. And you also fixed the audio for everyone else watching the live stream. So appreciate that. I thought it was kind of cool. And we'll jump into this real quick because I know this is what Jungle highlighted. So for anyone who missed it, thank you, Jungle. I appreciate that, brother. For anyone who missed it, what we were talking about was why I don't think the SEC is going to appeal. And just so everyone knows, like, I don't think that's the consensus view. I think the consensus view is the SEC will appeal. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm putting this theory out there and it's like the probable theory. I think it's actually like less probable, but I think at the same time, contrarians are often right. So this is the contrarian view. The contrarian view here is that the SEC is going to pursue other cases rather than the Ripple case. I think the SEC is going to want to go after exchanges and try to call exchange transaction securities. Congress has already pretty much said that the token itself is going to be regulated by the CFTC. So why would the SEC waste time and resources on something that's going to be reversed by Congress anyway? I think it's much more likely that the SEC goes after secondary market trading of the token on the exchanges and say that, hey, when an exchange is offering you to buy or sell a token, that process is a securities transaction, but just the token itself is not the security. And then what's going to change from there is essentially Ripple is going to have to probably register sales to exchanges, and exchanges are probably going to have to register for dealing the assets, but the token itself is never going to have to register or anything crazy like that. So I anticipate that's how this is going to end up. And I just don't think the SEC should be going after Ripple to kind of win that issue. They're much better off going after Coinbase, Binance, or Kraken to win on those secondary market transactions. Because the problem with Ripple is Ripple's just not really the one creating the transaction when you think about it. Ripple's more distributing XRP wholesale and using the exchanges to sell, but the exchanges are the ones selling. So I do think the issue is better taken up with Coinbase, Kraken, and I think the SEC is realizing that. But like I said, it's impossible to know what the SEC is going to do here, but that's just my own personal little theory on it. If we zoom in, we can see right now we're kind of in do or die time with this appeal. It's probably going to happen somewhere in this purple box. I don't think it will happen after September. I think if it's in, it's going to be in by October 1st, and that's when we're going to see it hit, and then we'll find out. I also don't think it's the end of the world if there's an appeal. I want to make that clear. Back in 2020, XRP had the case dropped, and since the case was filed, XRP went up 1,400%. So I just want to make it clear, right? Like, there's nothing that says like this XRP can't perform if the case is going on, and in fact, it has before. So just remember that there's nothing saying that this case needs to be over for XRP to pump. A lot of people make the argument, oh, XRP would have went higher, right? I'm sure you've heard that before. XRP would have went higher if the case wasn't filed. I like to take a look at this because I think XRP actually did go like pretty high. Like, take a look at this. If we compare XRP against Bitcoin, when the case was filed, or let's see, when the case was filed. No, I think it makes more. So COVID, I think COVID is the best. Like, COVID is the best like reset time because everything went down. So if we do the bottom of COVID, XRP against Bitcoin, we can see that XRP actually pretty much had the same performance as Bitcoin. So I know a lot of people said XRP would have gone up more if it wasn't for the case. Maybe that is true, but it is important to know it's not like XRP just didn't do anything, right? Like, XRP pretty much performed the same as Bitcoin. And the only difference is XRP dropped a tiny bit more than Bitcoin, had a slightly lower bottom. But what we have seen is it's very likely that XRP could pretty much just catch up to Bitcoin in a pretty quick and parabolic move. Sorry, I've been neglecting the comments a little bit here. Hopefully I didn't miss anything interesting. How much higher would it have performed if not for the lawsuit? That's a great question, Taylor. It is a great question. Now, I ask myself this question a lot. This might be something interesting for people. I ask myself this question a lot. Maybe did XRP actually hit an all-time high? Is kind of what I ask myself. I kind of wonder how real this previous all-time high was. I think David Schwartz has commented on it. That is kind of subject to debate. Would people be looking at things differently? Oh, flavor.com. Thank you so much for the gifted membership, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I wonder if people would be looking at things differently if rather than the current chart, it looked a little bit more like this. And XRP technically did reach an all-time high. Oh, that doesn't work. Good try. Yeah, something like this. And XRP did reach that all-time high. I kind of question if people would have a different view, or say XRP never even went on this big pump, right? Say XRP just did this. The XRP just did something like this. Do I pull up as XRP just did something like this, and in this first bull run went all the way up to 32 cents, and then the next bull run went up to $2. Like it's almost like this massive spike. It's almost like this massive spike kind of like changes people's perception. So like I just wonder if people would look at things differently if XRP peaked out at around 36 cents the last bull market and then hit something like $2 in this bull market. Would that change people's perception? Am I a Penn State fan? I'm not a big college football fan, to be honest. I watch more. I'm an NFL guy. I watch pretty much only NFL. Um, don't really watch many other sports outside of the NFL. I pretty much stick to pro football. But I'm obsessed with pro football. Like I watch a lot of football. So um it's like I just I don't have time to watch other sports. Like I just can't make an exception for football, but you know, once you start picking up like all the other sports, it's like hard to track it all. Checking the news real quick, seeing if anything comes up there. I'd like to check out XRP to BTC as well. NFL scripted like shows. Seems like it sometimes, but I don't know if I'm necessarily a believer of the script, but I do think it's funny. I just think there's too many people who'd have to be in on it for it to be scripted. There's too many dumb NFL players. Like if the NFL was scripted, like AB would have already AB would have already broke it. Like there's so many NFL players who like just don't actually care about anything and would have just, if it was scripted, just told everyone and said, all right, I don't care. I'm out of the league. So I don't think it's scripted, but I do find a lot of this scripting jokes funny. Russell Wilson, name starting QB. Yeah, I it was always going to be Russell. That's just how the Steelers operate. 49ers had to beat the Chiefs. Yeah, I don't get me wrong. There's a lot of bad officiating in the NFL. I just question if it's rigged. I agree, Taco. I do. I understand. See, Taco, for me, it's just like I've been watching the NFL so long. It's like I just can't. I can't switch. Here's XRP to BTC. I'm kind of just hanging out in this region here. Nothing overly exciting I'm not seeing on this, so kind of just sitting back and watching. What I think we're gonna do right now is, because I'm just gonna force all of you guys to watch this. Um, huh, um, I'll show you what we're gonna watch. This is courtesy of Roger. This is courtesy of Roger. It's just so fantastic. I want you guys to check this out. This is so good. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but I remember the beginning being really good. So we're going to check this out real quick. This is Jazzy Cooper, who is the head of Ripple's DeFi with the CEO of Axelar. And if this doesn't get you guys excited for what's around the corner, I don't know what will. Everyone give Roger a shout out for pulling this up. This is an incredible interview. It has almost no notoriety on it right now. I'm going to be blasting this, but let me tell you right now, this girl, Jazzy, is going to be the next kind of David Schwartz for Ripple, I believe. I believe when David is gone, and it's going to be a very, very, very sad day when David ultimately leaves Ripple, but David will leave eventually, and you will see the biggest wall of FUD we have ever seen as an XRP community. But I think Ripple is in good hands with Jazzy, and I do think she kind of has the capability to be that next kind of superstar developer for the XRP community. She's incredible, and I don't say that lightly. I've been listening to Jazzy speak for I've been listening to Jazzy talk probably for like 5 to 6 months now. Um, she's always impressed me, but I never knew if it was just like, hey, she hit one interview out of the park and she's gonna miss the next one. Oh man, this girl's on a roll. So I'm gonna pause it throughout and comment on it, but we're just gonna let this roll for a bit and really get some good education on the XRP ledger.
Everyone to the Multi-Chain Nation. Today we have Jazzy from Ripple and James from Axelar. It's great to have you both.
Great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. And right to kick it off, I mean, Jazzy, let us know. Like, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up in your position as a lead product manager at Ripple?
Sure. Yeah, happy
And
to.
you guys can hear, right?
Almost my entire career has been in the financial technology space, both a mix of Web 2 as well as Web 3, the RippleX org, from one product manager, one product that we were focused on, to a full product team with multiple product suites, both on the permissioned as well as permission list side. So now leading the institutional DeFi products group. We have a lot of exciting stuff that I look forward to talking about with you.
Awesome. And it's awesome that you came from like traditional finance and just found problems and kind of led into the crypto blockchain world thinking this probably solves a lot of our problems. So thank you for coming here and helping out, because that's what we need more of.
Definitely.
James, let us know about your background in Axelar.
Yeah, so my background comes from the fintech.
So let me just explain this real quick. Axelar is a very unique interoperability protocol. What Axelar does is it actually kind of just shoots messages from blockchain to blockchain and then is essentially a messaging bridge. So no assets actually have to be bridged over. What Axelar does is it just escrows and locks up assets on each side and then reissues new assets, but it doesn't actually lock up and prevent and like have as much risk. So what Axelar is doing is really just an interoperable messaging protocol that communicates from one chain to another without having to lock up the assets. And it's a very, very intelligent way of creating interoperability between different blockchains. And I'm a huge fan of Flare, as you guys know, but Ripple obviously picked Axelar over Flare for a lot of the interoperability. And I think that's because there's no actual bridging. That's a funny comment, James. I think it's because there's no actual bridging. So I think it's because Axelar is just doing the interoperability messaging. That Ripple actually chose to go with them over Flare. So I'm a big fan of Flare. But what we know is Ripple did choose to go with Axelar. So just a little background on how important they're going to be.
And then the digital media side of the business. I worked at Bloomberg in various kind of sales and operations roles in fintech, and that was my earliest exposure to the digital asset space. A good friend of mine back in 2014, leaving actually to go to BitGo on the custody side. So it's obviously very early, built around the Bitcoin ecosystem and then Ethereum, but certainly caught my interest. And as I made my way through kind of a digital media era of my career, I ended up at Time Magazine, which interestingly enough ended up launching an NFT strategy, Timepieces. And so through that lens, started to spend time in the space, ended up brokering a deal with Galaxy Digital, who ended up doing some sponsored content with Time. And that was really the rabbit hole for me to finally take the leap from being tangential to the space and then investing in my own time to realizing that this was an incredibly interesting area that I wanted to devote my full time to. I was introduced through some of those early colleagues in the space, the co-founders of Axelar. And when you hear about what they're building, when you hear about their backgrounds and the perspective that they had about what needed to be built in this next generation of interoperability platforms, it was a no-brainer for me that I wanted to be on this journey with them.
That's awesome. It's just like so important how you realize how powerful this ecosystem is and making that transition. I feel like a lot of people are afraid or they're not sure, but it came so natural to you, like it was an obvious choice. So thank you too for coming on here.
Absolutely.
Jazzy, so we have Ripple and Ripple X. Can you differentiate between the two? Like, how are the businesses different, complementary? How do they work together?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jungle, I agree that Ripple's likely going to be deploying a lot of different solutions, but they also have pivoted from some as well. So I know another company Ripple was in brief talks with and like talked about using and then moved on from pretty quickly. Um, they're about to get into Axelar and why Axelar is going to be so critical here. But I personally think Ripple for the most part, is going to go full steam ahead with Axelar. And I think it's because of what Axelar is doing here. It's very unique and very special. And it actually, in my opinion, is the smartest way to do this.
Yeah, good question. So Ripple is what most people think of when they hear,
I'm going to skip
when they
over
hear
this.
cross-border payment needs originally, and now expanding that to additional crypto solutions in the area of custody and having best-in-class solutions for holding crypto assets, and now the stablecoin initiative as well. So continuing to grow the suite of institutional and enterprise grade solutions on top of blockchain rails. So that's all kind of the Ripple side of the house. Ripple X is focused on the infrastructure beneath those applications. So the XRP ledger is the layer one blockchain that we're focused on. It's the layer one blockchain that is the home of the native asset XRP. And that's sort of the base of where all of Ripple's products are built on top of. So Ripple X, works on contributing to that core protocol. It is decentralized and open source. So everything that we do goes through consensus in terms of an amendment process on whether or not a new feature is actually desired by the full community. We also run a number of different community growth programs to help to expand the XRP ledger and help fuel some of the early stage projects that are building on top of it. So in summary, Ripple X is focused on XRP ledger, the core chain, and Ripple builds crypto-based solutions on top of the XRP ledger.
And so it's fun how you can build the core and build on top of your own core. It's like it's so much to do in this ecosystem, and there's projects for just making a core product, and then there's projects building on top of core products. But you're doing both, and that's a lot of undertaking. And I know there's a lot of like interest in like bringing what Ripple and Axelar are doing, their vision together in institutional DeFi. Can you go a little bit more into like what are the key elements of your roadmap with Ripple's and Axelar's vision?
Yeah, definitely. And just briefly on your point there, I mean, against popular conception, Ripple doesn't own the XRP ledger, and so we're one builder of many. And so there's other contributors, there's other projects, all kind of working on this shared technology, which makes a really unique experience and more dynamic building experience than full stack private chain. But yeah, overall, like I mentioned, Ripple as a company is very focused on transforming global finance by enabling, secure, scalable, compliant, decentralized financial infrastructure. And there's a couple key pieces in terms of actually, enabling institutional grade finance. And I think the first and foremost, which ties into our partnership with Axelar, is security. So that's probably the number one item that any institution is not going to compromise on. We have to really meet them where they are in terms of very robust ironclad security, which led to our decision to partner with Axelar when it comes to solving for interoperability needs. Second one is usability. So
No problem. 66.
wallets, infrastructure, protocols, they have to be accessible and also have a good user experience. And so working with Axelar, having connectivity to so many different chains, and working with applications built on top of Axelar really ties into that accessibility and usability element. And the last I'll flag is value. So how can we create value both for native assets as well as real world assets, and how can DeFi protocols help to unlock those? One example I'm particularly excited about is the Squid protocol built on top of Axelar. That ties into interoperability, but also value. How do we ensure that institutions have access to best-in-class liquidity by being able to tap into liquidity across all of blockchain, and also really great UX in the process, so they don't have to build their own tech or go to 8 different dexes in order to make a trade. Axelar, Squid, and XRP together, just bring that all to the user in one nice package.
So I think that's really interesting. There is a lot of FUD about the XRP ledger not having smart contracts, but the fact that we have all of the native features for the XRP ledger built into layer 1, I believe is going to be one of the big winners for the XRP ledger, because the fact that we only have one DEX and all the liquidity comes back to the core chain makes it so that institutions interact with Axelar to essentially have interoperability between every asset, but then they go to the DEX or they go to the liquidity source that offers the most liquidity in order to essentially route trades. And if the XRP ledger is the fastest, most efficient way to essentially route the payment through or create the liquidity, and Axelar has all the different assets, then it almost makes it so it doesn't really matter what chain you're settling on. You just want to settle on the chain with the most liquidity and the quickest ability to route that trade. So I think that's what Axelar, Squid, and Ripple are trying to do together, which I think is a very, very interesting combination, because it really makes it so that the actual transfer is chain agnostic, and it's really just going to what chain handles the order the best, which I believe is ultimately where the space needs to go. I would like to know more about Squid. I don't know enough about it, but I'll have to look more into that. All right, let's keep this moving.
It's so key, especially now in today's ecosystem where you have different blockchains all trying to do their own thing, but we're still people who want to talk to each other from different areas of the world, different blockchains. It doesn't solve our problem, which is cross communication, interoperability. Thankfully, we have Axelar to solve that for us, and thankfully, Ripple and RippleX and Squid and plenty of other services and platforms can use Axelar. And James, can you shed light a little bit about what was your vision for institutional DeFi with Axelar and the roadmap ahead?
Yeah, I think, similar guiding principles, that what we want to bring is security and distribution, right? Those are like the two key values that we bring to the institutional space. And the latter being programmability as well, that there are institutional use cases that care about different things, whether it's preserving privacy, whether it's being able to preserve KYB or KYC that has taken place on a specific chain. And the fact that Axelar operates this layer 1 chain gives us this flexibility of programmability when it comes to bridging and the distribution of these assets. And so these are attractive characteristics that have led us to a good positioning when talking to institutions that have been timid previously about onboarding and tokenizing assets and then using a quote unquote bridge, right, to distribute those. So a lot of it's education from our end, right? Making sure that these institutions understand there's not a one size fits all for different interoperability protocols, that you really need to go through those rounds of giving them comfort around the decentralization of the Axelar validator set and why this is paramount for different things when you look at like Mika and some of the different regulatory concerns that people have. So from our end, we want to build secure distribution, and we want to onboard institutions through education. And when it comes to this specific partnership, we do believe that Axelar needs to be a permissionless, like agnostic player in the space. There are going to be multiple chains that have a role in this end game here. But we do believe, for all the reasons that Jazzy has mentioned, the Ripple business has provided them with a great platform of trust to bring these institutions onto the XRP ledger to tokenize these assets. And now we're just building the next layer for them, which is distribution, access to liquidity and users that exist in the Ethereum world and the Solana world. And if we can then together provide the infrastructure that give these enterprises the confidence to come on more quickly, then we think this could be very successful for both parties involved and all of the ecosystem at Web3 at large.
So I thought that was great. Axelar just highlighting that Ripple built the centralized software for the institutions. The centralized software is what's onboarding these institutions to kind of a new age of finance. obviously those institutions are going to be pushed to the XRP ledger, but it can't just stop at the XRP ledger. The XRP ledger can only be good at so many different things. So how do you allow these institutions to be able to move into different ecosystems, but still using the XRP ledger's liquidity? We'll use Axelar to interoperate with all those different institutions. That way, Ripple can keep the XRP ledger fast and efficient for moving money. But if an institution does want to use some different use case, say in Flare or say in ETH, to actually gain a yield or operate a DeFi or use a platform there, you can actually interoperate using Axelar. So I think this is incredible. It's so smart. And to see kind of the Axelar guys talking about how critical it is that Ripple has their footholds in these big institutions. It shows that they obviously see that as something that's very important in really bringing mainstream adoption of the cryptocurrency industry. And it shows that these institutions are working with these people heavily on the back end.
It's so important that you mentioned security too. I think that's my top issue nowadays, because I remember recently receiving in the mail that my data has been breached from this bank, and I'm just like, well, I'm trusting you with my security and my information. And in the back of my head, of course, as a crypto native, I'm like, crypto solves this. Why are we still doing this? So thank you for thinking about security, and not just for know your customer aspect, but also know your business aspect. Everyone's security is in the line, and just having that safe and then being able to digitize it all, real world assets, digital assets, speaking with different entities that all work together. It's a big undertaking, and it's a
Roger
lot
is
to
the man.
digest
Thank you,
as an
Taco Bro.
institution. So sometimes you do need that extra help from other people like XR and Ripple to really hone in on how impactful it is and how easy it is to onboard nowadays. So Jazzy, I mean, with Ripple alongside XRLP and the community, bringing smart contracts, and then Ripple alongside PureSys, that will bring EVM sidechains. Between those, like, what is the end goal? Can you go a little bit more into detail of both?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess backing up a little bit, the XRP ledger was not built as a Turing complete blockchain. It doesn't have full smart contract programmability, but it can do a lot of the things that smart contract based chains do. It just
This is really important. I'm going to rewind real quick. This is so important.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess backing up a little bit, the XRP ledger was not built as a Turing complete blockchain. It doesn't have full smart contract programmability, but it can do a lot of the things that smart contract based chains
Thank
do.
you,
It just
Kirkland.
happens at the protocol level. So the most powerful features of the XRP ledger, like on-chain payments, like tokenization, trading on the decentralized exchange, all of those exist at the protocol layer, which we think has a lot of advantages in terms of performance, security, liquidity aggregation. So from my perspective, I won't speak for every builder on the ledger, but I actually prefer that the XRPL DEX is protocol based as opposed to smart contract based. That being said, obviously there's advantages in terms of innovation and in terms of accessibility to have a Turing complete blockchain. We also can't deny the maturity of the Ethereum ecosystem in terms of the number of applications that are already built out. And a lot of these projects, understandably, would rather continue to build on their tech stack than completely start over on another chain. And what we ultimately care about is innovation, progress, improvement and adoption of blockchain technology. And so we want those developers and those projects to have a home within the XRPL ecosystem, even if it's not directly on XRPL mainnet. And so by building on the EVM sidechain, it's sort of best of both worlds. They can deploy their contracts that they've already built and benefit from the security, the longevity of the XRPL mainnet, as well as the regulatory clarity of the native asset XRP, which will also be the native asset of the EVM sidechain as well, bridged over through Axelar. So
let me explain this real quick because this is huge. The XRP ledger doesn't have smart contracts. A lot of people made this seem like it was like some death sentence to the XRP ledger. But the truth is I believe it's actually good. You don't necessarily want the ability to build whatever application you want on a blockchain, because the more applications that get spun up, the more it's just going to slow down the overall blockchain. And it just makes it more of a dev environment than a production grade blockchain. Ultimately, you can build whatever chain you want to handle whatever specialized process and just link it to the XRP ledger. So the problem with Ethereum is I believe Ethereum is going to end up being this great place to build, but why would you want to have your own, why would you want to have a production application on Ethereum when you can just build your own production application with its own layer one? So what you really want is you want a native application or a native blockchain for your specific use case, and then have the ability to bridge to whatever other blockchain you need for liquidity. So what Ripple is doing is Ripple is saying, hey, you already built your EVM based application. You already built your EVM based chain. Why don't we just create a side chain where you can come over to and then use the liquidity and speed of XRP? So I believe this is such a smart strategy. It makes it so XRP doesn't have to have all these crazy things like smart contracts associated with it that are going to slow that chain, but still have the ability to bring projects into the ecosystem. It's like the best of both worlds. And this is, in my eyes, one of the hardest things for Ripple to have done, but I think it's going to end up being the right strategy, because to sit on the sideline when all these things were being built into Ethereum and say, no, we're going to wait, seemed like a crazy move. And who knows, it might end up being the wrong move. It seemed like a crazy move because all this innovation and progress was happening on Ethereum. But instead, XRP Ledger goes, hey, let's wait and see if something changes. And something massive did change, and that was interoperability. And having this interoperability protocol with Axelar really makes it pointless to have a layer one chain that is good for only good for development, but nothing's good specifically at any one thing. It's making it hard for me to see how Ethereum doesn't kind of end up becoming a massive testing zone and development zone, while XRP is more specifically used for liquidity and payments that I believe is more of a layer one use case. We'll see how this ends up, but I find it hard to believe that a lot of applications, Chainlink and all these different things, aren't just going to end up spinning up their own layer one chain, or just building on a whole bunch of different chains and utilizing whichever chain brings the most utility. If XRP is fast, cheap, and efficient and has that unique, it has the automated market maker and a lot of these other features like DID built directly into the protocol. I mean, it's an easy reason to see why the XRP ledger could attract a lot of this value. See what else we got. All right, we'll keep moving, but I mean, this is so important.
We're pretty excited about this. There's a lot of synergies. One last piece I'll mention that I think will be really powerful is, for applications that are building new contracts, not just redeploying old ones, there's also the opportunity for them to build in a very cross-chain manner and leverage Axelar's general message passing to call those smart contracts without having to manually bridge assets themselves. So this will be a big improvement for user experience and usability of blockchain technology for the users themselves, which is another big advantage from my perspective.
See, there's no real, a lot of people, I see this comment, Kirkland, not a shout out at you, but Proteus did come to fruition. It just came to fruition in a different way than I think a lot of people thought. Like, I believe a lot of the things being done by Axelar and Evernode are similar in a way to what Proteus was meant to be, but what I understand is Evernode is very close to Proteus. I just don't think Ripple has the time or ability to be able to focus on all these different protocols. So I think the right decision was just to let another party develop something like Proteus, because Ripple's vision to have the XRP ledger fast, efficient, and liquid, that's all the XRP ledger needs to be, in my opinion, in order to really dominate the future financial system we're heading into. They don't have to do anything else. That at its core is one of the most important and critical parts of any financial system. Fast, cheap liquidity. And as long as the XRP ledger can do that well, all the interoperability and all the rest of the stuff can be solved by other people.
Yeah, it's super important to make it easy and accessible for developers to just get on board and not have to think so hard into how am I going to make this work for everyone else. They can stay with what they know, but what they know best, and keep developing and have a trusted protocol level, someone like Axelar, and have uh, Ripple bridge. I mean, sorry, the Ripple ledger, just to really guide them rather than adding other stacks to themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're mentioning using Axelar, so I want to know more about there's dozens of different bridges, interoperability protocols on the market today, and I wanted to know what was your deciding factors that ultimately led you to the choice of going with Axelar.
Yeah, good question. I'd say there's three main pieces, which are security, connectivity, and innovation. So the first one, security, I mentioned that before. When we're focused on institutional grade DeFi, this is probably the number one item that is just not compromisable. And so looking for best in class bridging and interoperability technology from a security standpoint. And Axelar, as far as I know, has never had any sort of hack or breach. And this was super important to us. So this was definitely the number one piece. Second is connectivity. I love the hub and spoke model of Axelar with over 55 blockchains connected, which allows for very easy access. And if you're looking to add another network, it just plugs right into the hub, and you don't have to do chain-to-chain connections every single time you want to have connectivity to another chain. So EVM sidechain as well as XRPL mainnet will both be connected to the Axelar network, which directly gives access of those chains to all the other 50 or so chains. So very efficient model in terms of interconnectivity to as many blockchains as possible. Last one I'll mention is innovation. So it's very clear that the full Axelar team is very bright, very talented, forward thinking in terms of interoperability technology. General message passing is one thing that I highlighted before. This was a really big advantage from our perspective, because now by using GMP, we don't have to force all of our users to actually bridge, and they can still get the advantages of EVM smart contracts, for example. So we're really excited about general message passing and the innovation in blockchain application development that will come from that. And we're also confident that there's going to be a number of other innovations, even the expedition or expedite service as well, that allows for transactions to go through at a faster rate. So really excited to see what else comes down the pipeline on the innovation front as well from Axelar.
That's awesome. James, how did it feel when Ripple and RippleX came to you saying, we want to work together, we want to build, and you also reaching out to them? Like, what was that vibe like, that feeling when you were Axelar was a proper choice?
Yeah, so we were super excited about it. It felt like a natural fit given where both of us were looking to build. Been leading our chain integrations here for a couple years now, and I think there's a lot of like copy pasta. People love that term in this space, but right, it's like the next EVM chain. And what's the contribution really gonna be to Web3 and broadly, or even to?
This is so important. This is what I talk about. Like, you can't just have another EVM chain. You need something different. You need something unique. I want you to listen to what he says about like just another chain, another chain, another chain. It's so important to hear someone like him say this, because he's connecting all the chains. So if he's working to connect the chains, it's important to understand what he thinks about, hey, is it important just connect more and more chains, or is there something different about each chain specifically? And maybe more importantly, with what someone like Ripple is doing to onboard people to its chain specifically.
For a couple years now, and I think there's a lot of like copy pasta. People love that term in this space, but right, it's like the next EVM chain. And what's the contribution really gonna be to Web3 and broadly, or even to just the Axelar ecosystem? But in this case, like with the RippleX team, there was something like inherently net knew that we were going to be able to unlock by building this. And I think we all knew that it was going to be resource intensive, which is what naturally comes with, right? Like the return on investment is going to be high. You're going to have to invest a lot to see that through. But we were excited. And it took, honestly, I think, probably over a year for us to eventually come to the place that we all had confidence in what the structure kind of looked like, the timeline for us to try to build against this. But as Jazzy now describes, like super succinctly, the interaction, right, between this EVM chain, the XRPL, how they're going to complement each other's limitations, and how Axelar is going to provide this distribution and access to smart contracts and liquidity on other chains. I think like that culminated at the end of many conversations around like what this could look like. And I think when you reach that point that you can say it that succinctly, then we all realize this was a great opportunity ahead of us and an investment worth making. And we are just now like on the precipice of kind of realizing that and shipping this. And I think it's just very exciting. And I'm interested to see, beyond the first couple kind of use cases that we're envisioning, what else can we kind of build together once this is live.
Yep. And then one use case I want to dive deeper into is the real world assets. And I know both of you are focusing on this. James, I want to know a little bit more about what recent developments is XR bringing with XRP Ledger and real world assets.
Yeah, I think if you look at the more like tangible side of it, what's concrete, look at what like Mountain Protocol or Ondo or Midas, some of these issuers are doing with yield-bearing stable coins and how quickly they're recognizing adoption through ecosystems. And similar to what people have seen with Circle, building native USDC on-ramps is difficult. And it's resource intensive. And so what ends up happening is beyond where Circle represents native on-ramping, there are Axelar wrapped, USDC, there are other bridge wrap USDCs, and they're well adopted because there's more demand for these assets than the issuers can necessarily scale. And it becomes complicated when you start.
That's big. There's more demand for stable coins than these issuers can even put out there. Huge. That means like there's a lot of value trying to get in right now. And we just there's not enough interoperability. There's not enough institutional buy-in. There's not enough money in onboarding, but like the demand is there.
Working across different VMs. And so you see the same thing with these yield-bearing stablecoins. There's huge demand for them in DeFi across different ecosystems. And those teams have looked to Axelar as a distribution channel for them to be able to move more quickly than they could otherwise to get those assets in the hands of users and applications. And we think if you look at everything that Ripple is doing and where they're strategically positioned around institutions and enterprise, this is going to be a huge opportunity for us to tokenize new real world assets and then distribute them to the rest of those ecosystems that we're working with now. So that's certainly on the very like concrete, tangible side, looking at that. And we're very much interested to see where the larger financial institutional space moves, how quickly they're able to find comfort to really tokenize certain portfolios of assets. But publicly, you can take a look, look at what JP Morgan did with Project Guardian and take a look at what Deutsche Bank is doing now with Project Guardian. And the work that they're doing with Axelar will be presented in November. So kind of wait for them to share a little bit more about what they're testing in this proof of concept. But this stuff is, we're on the precipice. Like we are finally getting the pieces of infrastructure in that we're really moving forward. And so I think that we're very excited about it. And we think that Ripple can absolutely end up being one of the major hubs that kind of creates that first step that brings on those larger financial institutions to start tokenizing new types of assets.
Does anything else need to be said more than that? This guy doesn't even work at Ripple, and he is confident that Ripple is going to be the institution onboarding large players to this new decentralized financial system and creating this brand new asset class, this brand new financial system we've all been talking about. It's incredible. And what you heard earlier was that It's already in the process of happening. The projects are already started. So when he comes back now and says that he's confident this is going to happen, the question is he just saying he's confident now because he's in an interview and he can't disclose certain things? And is it actually that he knows Ripple's heavily involved in the onboarding of these institutions and these projects, and Ripple has been working with these things in partnerships, but they simply aren't ready to be put in a full-fledged final product? In my opinion, you can look at Jazzy's smile here. This is as soon as he says that Ripple's in the process of working with these large financial institutions to onboard their assets into blockchain. To me, this is the mic drop moment. This is the moment where you kind of have a team working together where Ripple onboards the institutions and Axelar then connects these institutions to the rest of the cryptocurrency ecosystem for what they need outside of what's capable on the XRP ledger alone. Roger says 1,700 NDAs. Exactly. Hold on, we're going to play this again.
Structure in that we're really moving forward. And so I think Axelar will be presented in November. Publicly, you can take a look, look at what JP Morgan did with Project Guardian and take a look at what Deutsche Bank is doing now with Project Guardian. And the work that they're doing with Axelar will be presented in November. So kind of wait for them to share a little bit more about what they're testing in this proof of concept. But this stuff is, we're on the precipice. Like, we are finally getting the pieces of infrastructure in that we're really moving forward. And so I think that we're very excited about it. And we think that Ripple can absolutely end up being one of the major hubs that kind of creates that first step that brings on those larger financial institutions to start tokenizing new types of assets.
That's super exciting. Jazzy, I definitely
That's the, yeah, I know smile right there.
want to hear more of your thoughts about the recent developments with real world assets and XRPL.
Yeah. I mean, very well said by James. I definitely agree and underscore a lot of his points about what's up and coming. We are on the precipice there, so very much aligned with that. Specifically from a Ripple X and XRP Ledger perspective, I can touch on it briefly from both the tech lens as well as partnership lens. On the tech side, we're working on a number of different potential advancements in XRP Ledger technology to better support real world assets. So one example is, a token type made specifically for RWA called multi-purpose tokens that allows for storage of metadata directly with the asset. There's a few other advantages in terms of scalability, flexibility as well, but we're really trying to increase the suitability for the XRP Ledger for this use case. To really lower the barrier to entry for these institutions. Axelar as well, integrating with Axelar, having interoperability is obviously essential for institutions from the tech side. And the last piece I'll mention on technology is Ripple Custody, which is proving to be a really interesting and sort of logical entry point for a lot of these large institutions in terms of on-chain RWA. The place for institutions to hold their assets, to on-ramp for these assets, ends up fitting in really well with Ripple Custody and the product vision there. So we're excited about how that will unfold. Second, shifting away from the technology towards some of our partnerships, we've been very focused on partnering with a number of different real-world asset tokenization platforms. So basically the application layer on top of XRP Ledger. So we've recently announced partnerships with Archex as well as Zonix, two different high quality tokenization platforms with really exciting roadmaps and also pipelines in terms of the institutions they're looking to onboard. From a direct issuer perspective, we've recently partnered with Treasury bill issuer called Open Eden. So really excited about that. They're one of the top players in the space. They have a really strong mind around compliance and how they uphold those standards when it comes to tokenizing real world assets. Ripple also announced an initial investment, initial purchase of their assets. So we'll actually have some skin in the game and hold, on-chain treasuries on our balance sheet, which I'm particularly excited about. And yeah, in discussions with a number of others, this is only the beginning, but like James said, we're on the edge and excited to see what's next.
Yeah, it's a lot of building on top of Axelar. So, I mean, as like a development standpoint, what is your experience working with like Interop Labs, Axelar, and deploying on the Axelar network?
Yeah. Good question. So yeah, I mean, I want to flag there's a number of different high quality interoperability players on the XRP ledger. We definitely appreciate what they're building and the technology that they support. Axelar has been, yet another innovative player in interoperability on XRPL, and it's been particularly interesting to us in terms of, the flexibility that the Axelar protocol ultimately has. The way they've built it in such a way that it can support EVM-based chains, non-EVM-based chains. It can support various forms of asset issuances, and a lot of really smart, really deep technical thinking around how each integration and configuration should really work in order to unlock the most potential from every single blockchain, as well as the network as a whole when all the pieces come together. So it's been really powerful working with them and working through those pieces to really optimize the integration overall. And I'm ultimately excited to have this technology available to enable developers to build seamlessly and effectively across multiple different blockchains.
It must be so relieving that you're like jotting off all these needs that we need and how to build, and you just need something to work well for you. And I'm happy that Axar is delivering and able to actually provide the services you need without having to sweat too much, because sometimes you don't want to do the work for the person that you're building on top of at the same time. You're trying to use their platform, use their service, and just use it how it's meant to be. So
Yeah,
that's really exciting to hear.
definitely.
And James, I'm sure you probably have a bunch of projects trying to build on top of Axar, asking a bunch of questions, maybe making it really difficult. So what was your experience with Ripple? Was it easy? Was it hard? Was it just a bunch of fun?
No, it's been a it's been a great experience, and I think there are two aspects of it that really come to mind, and one is just um, working with a team where there's really like complementary value between the two organizations that are working together, right? Like there are a lot of projects that are building in the space, a lot of chains that are popping up in our instance, and I'm sure the Ripple X team is interfacing with a lot of startups. Where let's say like the leverage can kind of be off, right? And so it is refreshing to spend time and attention on a partnership where you really feel like both teams are bringing these complementary pieces of a puzzle that can lead to a lot of adoption and success. I think that creates like an excitement which is necessary to work through hard problems. And I think that we've felt like that over, what is it, almost 6 months to a year that we've been working with the Ripple team on this. They're super competent, skilled across many different functions, many different kind of products, and all of that makes this very fun to work with, right? There is not like a singular product or use case that we are working against here. There are a handful of them, and with each one of them, we need to kind of have considerations, everything from how it's built from a product perspective to how we think about the go-to-market. And the Ripple team has kind of supplied all the right people with the expertise on all of these issues to really brainstorm and put us in a place that I think, Jazzy would probably agree, we feel like the product is being built, the right way, and we have confidence that we're going to be able to execute a good go-to-market strategy to recognize adoption across a few different use cases here. I think all of that makes this fun for both sides, and at least for us.
Yeah, and it's definitely a long road ahead where you two have just been honing in on this, getting excited.
All right, that's funny. That's funny. All right, guys, I'm gonna stop it there. That was the by far the best part of the interview. It's kind of like, you know, how that is at the end of the interview, they kind of give closing thoughts or whatever. If you want to check out the rest of this interview, make sure to check out Multi-Chain Pod. You can watch the entire thing, but I'm also going to be putting my highlights out throughout the week. So keep an eye out for that. I'm going to have shorter, more digestible clips that really harness the most important parts of the interview. What's the best part, Joe? Joe, what's the best part? I'll play the best part. I thought we hit on the best parts.
But you know, some things are out of our control, and we'll do our best to feel like headwinds towards us actually.
Easy sometimes, and also their
Oh, they just talk about regulations. That's why. That's why it was just regulations at the end. Guys, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you all. And for now, Mikkel out.